Hello, I am back with another video, and this week I thought I would tell you my top 5 films. So I realised I hadn't done this yet, and it seems, you know, like an appropriate video to do. So I should have probably done it already at this point, but you know, we don't mind. We've got to it. We're there. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is the topic, isn't it? It's relevant. I'm quite embarrassed I haven't done it yet, but we move. A disclaimer, I suppose. Maybe. I'm not very good at actually like definitively ranking my choices. So this video, it's not in any particular order. These films are just when someone asks me what my favourite film is, these are the 5 that like consistently come to my mind. Everything in my brain is like subcategorized, okay? So I could tell you for definite like the ones for each category, but in general it gets a bit difficult for me. So these are my top 5, but they're not in any order. The first on my list is Brother Bear, which came out in 2003. I don't actually know what it is about this film. It's just always been up there as one of my favourites. I think it's like the nostalgia from it, I guess. But saying that, if you asked my parents which Disney film I had on repeat as a child, they would tell you in no uncertain terms that it was Peter Pan all day, every day. I don't know when that changed though, but Brother Bear is like, in my opinion, a really clever film, cinematically, the way it's done. I think what does it for me is that it's not like the other Disney films, because there's no princesses, there's no hero coming to save the day, there's no romance going on, although I think there is romance in Brother Bear too, but we're talking about the OG Brother Bear. It's just pure family feels, which I enjoy, and it's like, it's funny, it's a good time, it's got some bangers. I mean, Phil Collins coming through, what do you expect? I mean, On My Way. Tell everybody I'm on my way. Friends and new places to see. Oh, it hits different. It hits different. The second on my list for today's video is Thor Ragnarok from 2017. I've definitely brought this up before. It's just the best. Good vibes all around coming from Ragnarok, which is very ironic because Ragnarok is obviously the destruction of Asgard. As I mentioned, subcategories, so Thor Ragnarok is 100% my top Marvel film. No questions asked. It's also actually the best solo Thor film. I mean, that's subject to change with the 4th one coming out in the next 2 years. But it's so well done, and Thor's character is so well developed in this one. I did watch this an embarrassing amount of times whilst I was at uni. I mean, it was so good for any mood I was in. It's great, it works that way because it's so like light-hearted and good and feel good and funny that if you're in a bad mood, it brings you up, and if you're in a good mood, it keeps the party going. It also has the benefit of, it's I think one of the very few Marvel films where you don't have to have actually watched any other of the Marvel films to still like follow it along and have a good time. I think if you're going to introduce someone to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this could be a good one just to be like, look, it's decent, like it's good, like to get someone in the mood to get into it. Because if you like just start at the very beginning, it's a bit iffy. Anyway, Thor Ragnarok is in my top 5. Staying on brand with another Taika Waititi film is Jojo Rabbit, which came out in 2019. I just think there's just something about the way that Taika Waititi makes a film He's just very good at creating strong, compelling stories that don't particularly take themselves very seriously. This is the thing with Jojo Rabbit, okay? When you think of the premise of the film, which is we're gonna follow a Hitler Youth child who's very, very much indoctrinated by the Nazis, and we're gonna watch as his world basically gets blown away when he meets a Jewish girl that he finds in his house. I mean, you don't hear that and immediately go, oh my gosh, we're in for such a hilarious time. We're gonna have a blast right now. You don't hear that and go, we're gonna be laughing our socks off. And yet, it's just immaculate vibes, very funny. It tells such a serious, like, if you think, like, as I've said, it has potential to be such a, like, serious story and, like, quite heavy, but it's done in such a non-serious way. I mean, the dude's imaginary friend is literally Hitler. That's something I could only imagine coming out of Taika Waititi's brain. If you manage to put all of those components into a film and come out with something that is incredibly funny, it's a good time, and it's well done, it's gonna go up there. It's gonna go up. It won awards, didn't it? I don't know what ones it won. I mean, that says something. Clearly something good is going on. The fourth film on my list is The Judge, which is a 2014 film. It stars, who does it star? It stars Robert Downey Jr. and, this is embarrassing, I should have pre-done this. It stars Robert Downey Jr., Robert Duvall, Vera Farmiga, Vincent D'Onofrio, Jeremy Strong, Dax Shepard, and Billy Bobby Thornton. I don't think I've ever mentioned this one before, but I stumbled upon this film one sick day back when I was at school, and it's just firmly sat at the top of my top films list ever since. In my opinion, it's just like the perfect drama. It somehow has a bit of everything. And like, also, I've got to say, like, back in the day, I wasn't really one that would cry at films. I mean, you know when you're like 14 and you're like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing. Yeah, I didn't cry at films, okay? This film had me sat crying my eyes out, literally tears streaming down my face. It's the fact that it got me to that stage when I was someone that was like, that's so embarrassing, is quite clearly testament to how well done it is and how well the story is told. I don't know, because this one's so like unknown, basically Robert Downey Jr.'s character is a lawyer, okay? His mum dies, so he has to go back to his hometown, and we basically realise he's got a very rocky relationship with his dad, who is the like head judge at the court in his hometown. And then his dad is like caught up in a did he kill this person, didn't he kill this person type thing, and then loads of secrets come out, and it's a whole thing, and it's just, I'm really not telling it very well, but it's an incredible story. I mean, it's just got everything you could want, it's got, basically. I mean, other than like an explosion or like a car chase, but I mean, it's a drama, it's not an action film. And honestly, it just owns a piece of my heart, so very firmly at the top. The last film on my list is Frozen 2, which came out in 2019. It's very odd for me to prefer a sequel over an original. I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, I prefer Iron Man 3 over Iron Man 1, you know? But I have to say, prior to the release of Frozen 2, I wasn't really that fussed about Frozen. For me, I think Frozen lost all affection and died for me the day I had to watch it repeatedly with my elder nephew, back in the day when he was like 7 or 8. But Frozen 2 decided that it was going to come in and blow me away. Watching it in the cinema was definitely one of those experiences that stuck with me, because I went on my own to watch it in the cinema. So I was therefore in a screen with just me, 19 years old, on my own, and a bunch of parents and children. And like all of the other adults were quite clearly in the room because they had a child with them. And then there was just me, vibing on my own. Very weird, but do you know what? Would do it again. Do you know what? This is the thing. I actually can't explain why it's so high on my list. It just never fails to entertain me. It's very gradually become like my go-to film when I just want to watch something that doesn't require a lot from me as an audience. Like, I don't have to sit and figure anything out. I can just enjoy it, listen to some good tunes. Olaf, you know, he never fails to provide. It does something, I don't know, I really enjoy it for some reason. It's one of those ones where I've just like, it's one that you say, but you can't actually give a reason why. It's just there. I want to mention as well that the actual production phase of Frozen 2 was documented in Into the Unknown Making Frozen 2. It's a documentary series that is also on Disney+. And the way that they showed the entire process from like start until it was it the world premiere, or it was for the premiere of the film. So they basically cover like 18 months potentially of the entire production of it. And just watching the whole process of like the way that it was, and then it developed, and the way that they filled holes and they changed songs. Oh my gosh, I mean, it put the whole thing into a new perspective, and I think that's what made me appreciate the actual film a lot more. And I did leave it going, oh my gosh, I want to work in film. Like, obviously I'm already on that wavelength, but you know when something else just like reaffirms it? That documentary did that for me. So if you've not watched the documentary, but you have watched Frozen 2, I say give it a go. I mean, even if you've not watched Frozen 2, watch the documentary. I think it's like a six-part series. So that's my top 5 films. It may be subject to change. I mean, if anyone wants to ask me a subcategory, I could probably provide quite definitively, but there's just obviously a lot of genres, so it's like, can't just pick one. I do, though, want to honourably mention The Proposal from 2009, because none of my top 5 are rom-coms, but The Proposal is by far my most favourite rom-com film ever, and it just never fails to provide a good time. I genuinely enjoy it every single time I watch it. It's just, do you know what I have to say? I think I was maybe 10 the first time I watched it, or 11. I don't know, one of the two. My mum was like, let's watch this, and I was like, all right. And I haven't looked back since. The little bits and pieces have really stuck with me for the years, and it's like Sandra Bullock's chant when she's in the woods with Betty White, and the Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, It Takes Two. I mean, if you haven't watched this, I'm telling you, you are missing out, okay? It's when I'm in the mood to watch a rom-com and I can't find anything else that piques my interest, it's going straight on. No questions asked. Boop. If you have managed the impossible and do have a definitive all-time favourite film, genuinely let me know. I'm so fascinated by it. I think like people's top films say a lot about them as a person, but also at the same time, I don't really know what my top films say about me as a person. So what do you think my films say about me as a person? I'm interested to know. I hope it's something good, but you know, who knows in this climate. So that's it for this week. I hope I was vaguely entertaining. I hope you maybe watch something of one of my favourite films and maybe it becomes one of your favourite films. Ooh, that would be cool. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good week. Bye. This is a disaster. I think the lighting changed because the sun went behind a cloud. Okay, sorry, I got really confused. My neighbour just drove onto our drive, but I think he's just turning around.